Well, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, and
TikTok.
TikTok. We're doing a Ask Me Anything on Reddit.
Yes, we're kind of all over.
We're all over the place, and we're very, very excited to be talking with you today.
Should we introduce ourselves?
We probably should. Good idea.
So, I'm Melanie. I am the social media manager at Manychat, but I am also a travel content creator on the side. Lots of fun things. I am on pretty much all platforms, but Instagram and TikTok are my two biggest ones. So, what about you?
Love it. I'm Sarah. I'm the YouTube channel manager here at Manychat, and I'm also a content creator as well. Primarily YouTube and Instagram are my thing, but of course I love TikTok, and I am a avid scroller
Who
of
does?
the TikTok.
Who isn't? Who isn't? I'm still keeping all my fingers and toes crossed that we can continue doom scrolling.
I know. So today, if anyone isn't aware, we've learned that the ban is officially going through.
Yes, on Sunday. So, 2 days from today.
Yes, which of course is, you know,
Again, I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed. I have optimism that we're going to be able to continue being on the platform. At
Yeah.
least I hope so, because again,
we love TikTok.
we love TikTok.
So we're here to answer some questions today, which I'm super excited about. Should we jump right into it?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do it.
Cool. Awesome. So we're getting questions again from YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So if you're joining us live, hello. And if you're watching the recap or the replay, hello as well.
Yes. And also, please send your questions. That's what we're here for. So,
All right. So first question we have is, what happens to my existing audience and content if TikTok is banned?
on TikTok,
Yeah. What happens to your content and your audience?
I mean, from what we know so far, again, everything I think is changing by the day. So, from what we know, if you're in the US, you're not going to have access to TikTok starting Sunday unless things change.
Mm-hmm.
So your content, you're gonna have access to download your data, but we recommend downloading your content like now, like today or tomorrow.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about how we're in the process of downloading our content, which, I mean, it's time consuming, but if you have videos on TikTok that you don't have other places, you didn't save them, go ahead and start that now because, you can use that content on other platforms to expand your audience and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I like to use Repurpose IO. That's what I'm using to download all of my content. It kind of just runs in the background and it's saving them to a Google Drive. So I'll have access to post any of my content on any other platform.
That's a hot tip.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I love that. And then in terms of like what happens to your audience, unfortunately, obviously, your audience, you can't be posting content, so it's kind of upsetting. But the good news is that, you can work to expand your audience to other places. So what I would do as of right now is on TikTok, if you're someone who has a large audience there, I would urge your audience to follow you in other places and really focus on, expanding your other platforms as well.
Yeah, and also keep in mind the TikTok ban is for the US. So if you have audiences from all over the world, they're still going to be able to access TikTok. They're
Right.
still going to be able to access your account. I personally put a little like, hey, I'm still posting on Instagram and on YouTube on my TikTok bio so that anybody who's like, hey, I haven't seen from Mel in a while, if they go to my profile, they'll see like, oh, of course, she's in the US. Let me go follow her elsewhere.
I love that. That's a really good idea to put it in your bio. Let people know where you're going to be at. Maybe put your handle there too.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So, what other platforms should I prioritize for now? Lemonade, Neptune. That is the next question. Any experience with that?
That's a good one. So we know Instagram and YouTube are both very established platforms. So
Right.
if you haven't started posting on either of them, or if you've been considering kind of expanding and repurposing your content, now's the perfect time. Lemonade, I'm unsure of its future because they are owned by ByteDance. So we'll
Right.
see here in the States. Neptune is a new platform owned and I think operated from the US. It hasn't launched yet. I've already signed up to be a beta tester.
Me
but
too.
I don't know.
We'll
TBD
see.
there. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah, I think that the biggest thing to note is that like we're going to be seeing a lot of, the new TikTok alternatives and things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's always a good idea to maybe try it.
Why not?
But I would put most of your eggs into baskets that are a little more established, like Instagram, YouTube, things like that,
Yeah.
just personally.
And that's the nice thing too about having the content and repurposing it, having it downloaded is if you do have it on Instagram and on YouTube, and then something like Neptune comes along and it starts gaining popularity, you already have content that you already know has performed well on other platforms. So why not utilize it and see maybe it's, a new social media platform that's going to take the place by storm.
Yeah, just throw it on there. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? So I can go ahead and take this one first instead of throwing you under the bus every time. But this is from Brent. Does Instagram have a TikTok shop equivalent? So we actually heard news that Instagram does have an affiliate shop program coming, which is really exciting. Neither of us have tried it yet because it is new.
Yeah, it's fairly new. So interested to see.
What happens there? I'm super excited about it. So yes, they actually do, which will be really good.
I think YouTube does too now.
Yes,
So
YouTube does have like a shopping program, and my prediction is that these platforms are going to really try to boost up their shopping because
yes.
TikTok Shop was so like
Yeah.
popular.
And I think a lot of creators make a lot of income from affiliate marketing. So I think it's going to be important for the platforms to kind of catch up and
Yeah,
it'll be good.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I can't wait. Okay, what is the best way to utilize audience data on TikTok before the app disappears?
Ooh,
That's
an interesting question.
what's the best? I need to read that again. What's the best way to utilize audience data on TikTok? Huh. I mean, I guess like just to throw something in there, like looking at your top performing content and posts and using those first if you're reposting to Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever, like that would be one way that I would look at my data to like move forward.
Yeah, and also for me as a creator that is working with brands and landing brand partnerships, I took screenshots of all of my analytics, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and a year, so that I have, what my audience growth has been, what my reach has been, so that if in the future brands are like, "Hey, so your TikTok like we know you had it. Do you have any analytics that you can share with us of how your content was performing over there?" I have it all saved. So
That's super smart. I love that. I really like that. That was a good question.
Great
Thank you.
question.
Yeah. This is from a Reddit user. We are live on Reddit too. Do I need to change my content strategy for a new platform? Yes. Every platform is slightly different. So, what works well on TikTok might not work on Instagram, might not work on YouTube Shorts. I think that the biggest thing, at least in my opinion, is to always be a consumer of the platform before you're a creator on the platform, just a little bit. So, if you are someone looking to download one of those new apps, maybe consume some content first before you start throwing stuff up there.
Yes.
But yeah, it does slightly differ depending on the platform.
I think too, it's dependent on the platform, but also dependent on your audience. If you have a type of audience, like for me as a travel content creator, I've noticed that there is a little bit of crossover between the three big platforms, so TikTok, Instagram, and like YouTube Shorts. So I think it's just kind of playing around with the content that you already have, that we keep talking about repurposing your content, but like play with the things that you already have, see what's working on new platforms, and then from there you'll kind of get an idea of what you need to shift and how you need to adapt for that specific platform.
Absolutely. That was perfectly said. Love it. We already answered this one, but I think it's good to revisit it in case anybody just joined. Where and how can I save my TikTok content to repurpose to Instagram? Mel is using repurpose.io. I know there are a couple of third-party softwares. We were just talking about this today. Be careful with like which third-party software you decide to trust, only because
Yeah,
it can be a little, you
a
don't
little
want
sketchy
to.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Definitely make sure it's established and that it people are using it and are using it successfully. But definitely make sure that however you're downloading your content, that it is watermark free. If you plan on repurposing it to other platforms.
Yes,
So that's why I love Repurpose.io. I've used Snaptic.
That's what I use.
Yeah,
I use Snapchat.
that one's just manually, right?
Yeah.
You have to
So
do like one at a time.
so that's repurpose.io is probably the way to go.
So it depends on how much content you have to download.
Yes. Maria asked, do short videos work on YouTube? Yes, they do. YouTube Shorts are gaining popularity. So if you have like TikToks or Instagram Reels or whatever that have done well in the past, it's great to throw them on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it was in October, they started allowing shorts that were longer than 60 seconds. It used to be that the max was 60 seconds. For the longest time, I literally checked 2 days ago, and I finally have access to 3-minute YouTube
Yay!
Shorts. It took forever.
That's awesome.
But most of my content is between like a minute, minute and a half. So I'm so excited to finally be able to repurpose that over there. So,
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we also see like expanded features over there, especially, with this whole change and everything. I'm assuming a lot of people are going to start moving over to YouTube.
yeah.
I think we're going to be seeing a big rise in popularity in shorts. So, just like we were saying, like try out content on Instagram Reels, try out content on YouTube Shorts. There's no harm in it, and it's great to expand your audience in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reddit question. Are there implications in how we choose the next platform? Are there geopolitical implications in how we choose the next platform?
I wonder if this is like targeted towards like the red note or the platforms that are not US based, if you're thinking about particularly why TikTok is being banned in the US. I think this kind of goes back to what we said at the beginning of choosing platforms, putting a lot of your eggs, not all of your eggs, but putting a lot of your eggs in the platforms that are already established. So your Instagrams, your YouTubes. Pinterest is another one that has been slowly introducing video content. So I'm excited to see if anything changes over there. And then obviously try to read the like agreements when you're signing on to new platforms. And just be cautious. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to know at this moment how things are going to
Yeah.
proceed, which
Yeah.
is also, I think, a good moment to bring up that, again, we're talking about the ban based on what we know at this time. Things are slowly evolving and changing.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, mainly because, like a lot of these apps that people are moving to, like Red Note or like Lemonade, are also owned by Chinese companies. So it's going to be interesting just to see. Another one too is CapCut, which is our favorite video editing app.
talk to me.
So it's just going to be interesting, I guess, to see what happens there.
Yeah, ever evolving. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it could change tomorrow, it could change Monday, it could change 30 days from now. So we're just kind of going off of what we know today at this time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, this is a good one. Isn't isn't Instagram's video editor a little doo-doo? What should I use instead now that CapCut might go too? Oh, it's related to CapCut. You can speak on this one if you'd like.
Listen, I love Instagram, but I actually didn't even use TikTok's like native video editor. I
Me
loved
neither.
CapCut. I love having like an external place where I can save it, create it, and download it for all of my platforms. So yeah, I can't really speak to Instagrams. I don't use it often. But I know I'm gonna shop around and play with a couple of different apps for editing. I might just finally bite the bullet. I've been trying to get into YouTube and doing more long form content as well. So I think maybe it's time for me to bite the bullet and do something like on my iPad or my laptop and like do like
Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro. Yeah.
I think for me at this point, if I'm going to start repurposing my content in that sense and I want to, kind of elevate it a little bit more, maybe this is
the kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're someone who likes CapCut, I mean, obviously both of us love CapCut. There are a lot of other apps. Like I know InShot is another one that I've used in the
Yes.
past. I actually used to use that one before I found CapCut. So yeah, I mean, I think I also don't love Instagram's in-app editor. This might also be a push for them to hopefully make it a little bit more advanced, which would be cool. But yeah, I mean, trying some other apps, maybe InShot.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they come out with their own version of it.
I would try it. I mean, hey, I would totally try it. Okay, we have a question from Reddit. Did you start with specific content plan in mind or just started posting to see whether posts get traction?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of just started posting. So I never got into content creation as like, hey, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a creator. I started posting because I really enjoyed, at the time, photography because I started on Instagram.
Oh, I love it.
So I started just kind of posting things that made me happy. And then it slowly evolved into, okay, I'm growing an audience, I'm growing a community. What do people want to see? And like, what am I enjoying creating and posting about? And now that I'm a little bit more established, I definitely go into it with content plans. I have a running list of video ideas on my phone that I'll either like wake up in the middle of the night and be like, wait, that's a really good idea.
I had a dream about this one.
Or of like people who are in my comments or my DMs being like, hey, have you talked about this or are you doing this? And then, I take ideas down and create from there. So I'm
Yeah.
curious how you do it.
I definitely, I guess it depends. So a lot of times I will start with a little bit of a strategy, like kind of like you were saying, like I know what my audience wants to see and likes to see. So I'll usually start there. I also do the thing with the notes in the middle of the night, or I don't know, just like whenever I think of something that
Yeah.
pops into my head, I always write it down because otherwise I will forget it. Big tip for creators.
Yes.
But yeah, I do start with a strategy for sure. I think the biggest thing though is that you can't be afraid to just post because you really never know, especially if you're a newer creator, like you
Yes.
never know what's gonna work. And sometimes we're really scared. We're like, oh, it needs to be perfect. But sometimes the imperfect stuff is the stuff that goes viral.
Unknowingly so.
Yes.
And also, like, if you're just getting started or you want to start and you're a little bit nervous, sometimes it might take a while. Like, I just went through my timeline of what my growth has been like on social media, and it's been 6 years, y'all. And on Instagram in particular, I've got 136,000 followers. It's been 6 years of growth to do that, and I started posting, and I didn't really get a whole lot of engagement, and I didn't get a whole lot of growth. So while sometimes people get really lucky or have really good content that like blows up immediately, for a lot of people it's a slow burn, and I think it's important to remember that and realize that you're not totally alone if you're posting and you're not seeing the reach and engagement that you were hoping for. Just keep
Yeah.
doing it. Don't be embarrassed. It's not embarrassing at all.
We see a lot of big content creators who have a huge audience and we think like, oh, they just magically made it there. We don't even think about it, but everybody started from zero.
Yeah.
So
For me on
gotta remember
TikTok
that.
though, TikTok for me was like all of a sudden I'm like, wait, where did 300,000 of you guys come from? And then I open the app and it'd be like 400. I'm like, okay, this is kind of scary. So you just never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I like this one. How should I think about engaging with my followers during the transition? Like, do I tell them to move with me when I haven't even decided? Interesting.
That's a good question.
Um, yeah, I mean, I always think it's a good idea to be honest. I mean, you know, all of us in the US are in the same position where we're all facing the TikTok ban. And so, yeah, I think just being honest and straightforward and saying, hey, follow me on other platforms. I don't think there's any harm in that.
Not at all.
So I definitely would.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. Again, if you're on TikTok, put a little thing in your bio that says, "Hey, if you miss me, I'm gonna be over here." But I think we're all gonna be figuring it out on our own as we go. So.
Yeah. This is a question for you, Mel,
Uh-oh.
from Reddit.
Uh-oh.
That's a scary statement. As a social media manager for a couple of travel creators, one with a huge following, is your social media manager, Mel, open to networking and connecting with others?
Always. Y'all can always, you know where to find me. I am online. I'm not easy. I'm not hard to discover. If you just look me up on the webs. But yeah, slide into my DMs. Be nice. If you're gonna slide into my DMs, don't be weird. Um,
Please be normal.
but I'm always open to connecting. I've been in the industry, both on the marketing side and as a creator for 6, 7 years at this point. So always open to connect.
She's also just fabulous and very sweet.
Oh, sometimes, unless you're mean and weird.
Unless you slide into the DMs all weird. What are you most worried for in your own move away from TikTok? And are you even moving away yourself? Yeah, I mean, since we can't access TikTok starting Sunday from what it's looking like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be expanding into focusing more on Instagram, on YouTube, on possibly these other platforms that are popping up a little bit. But I guess like personally, maybe you can speak on this more because I know you have a big audience on TikTok, but I'm not super worried because I feel like there's going to be more and more people on these other platforms since now they can't necessarily be on TikTok. We're going to see an influx of people in Instagram Shorts, in YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely I'm sad because TikTok, if it fully goes poof, um, it was one of my favorite platforms to just consume content on, let alone create content for. And so I'm a little bit sad, but I have a wonderful community on Instagram. I'm trying really, really hard to start building the same on YouTube. So I'm, of course, making the jump. I've already made the jump, actually, but I will be
Yeah.
making the jump if things like Neptune come out and, um, pave a new path for a new platform. So,
Yeah. Speaking of that, grab your usernames now.
yes.
go onto these apps and grab your usernames.
Yeah, make sure.
I thought of that because I did it yesterday.
I tried getting on Neptune and just getting Mel or Melanie if it was already taken. One of these days.
Dang.
One of these days, even though that's not even my, my username across my creator.
Yeah, but it would be pretty cool. Be
It would be
like,
so
I'm
cool.
at Mel. All right, another one from Reddit. Do you think we're going to be seeing all of people's TikToks just being mass reposted on Instagram going forward? And if so, do you think it's a good time for accounts to grow, or do you think it's going to be a little saturated for a while? I think it's going to be a little saturated for a hot second there. I personally, it's interesting because I feel like we're going to start seeing the more TikTok style of video on Instagram a little bit more, like a little less polished, a little
Yes.
less unfiltered. A lot of creators I feel were kind of still separating it where they were doing the
Yeah.
unpolished, unfiltered stuff on TikTok, and now I think we're going to see it more on Instagram. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a saturation there.
Yeah, I do also think that because of the way that the Instagram algorithm is set up right now, like, right, you're still getting in your feed, you're still getting the people that you're following, and you're interacting in that way. And then the Reels tab is kind of like a more free for all, like the For You page is on TikTok. So I think at least there's going to be a little bit of separation between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, did you see this morning? Adam Asari posted a video talking about how in the Reels tab, you're going to be able to filter by videos that your friends have liked.
I did see that. I saw someone talking about that yesterday. I've already had the feature where I see.
Oh.
I don't think I have that feature yet. I haven't checked, to be honest. But I see my little friends who have liked stuff.
Yeah.
I see it like pop up, and apparently you can just click that, and that's what's gonna allow you to be in this like special feed. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how Instagram maybe shifts their algorithm going forward, and I think we're gonna start to see some pretty big shifts.
I think they're definitely going to try to fill the gap that TikTok is, if it fully goes away, will leave for a lot of creators. So I think we're going to be. I would expect that we're going to see a lot of changes in the coming weeks and months. Whether or not TikTok stays around, I think it's a new age for change in that on the platforms. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
I can't wait, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see
I'm excited.
what happens.
I'm also excited to see if something like Neptune does come out and, kind of start blowing up, like there's going to be so much room for creators who've maybe like didn't get a chance to grow on TikTok or felt like they like missed the time.
Yeah.
There might be some opportunities.
I mean, hey, there was a time when TikTok didn't exist either, and it blew up to what it is. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I have hope for one of these platforms. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Hello. Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. Do you believe that the TikTok ban could lead to more regulation on social media platforms in general? Interesting question. I think possibly.
I think a little bit, but Instagram did just announce some kind of bigger changes in the way that they're going to be regulating content,
Right.
or the things that they're going to be prioritizing regulating. So I think we're going to see, at least on Instagram, a little bit of a shift. We're going to be able to get, some of the political creators are going to be able to start posting on Instagram.
Right.
And so maybe.
Yeah, I think I would say yes. I think in general right now we're seeing a lot of social media platforms shift like their, regulations and things, and I think possibly. I think, yeah. Time will tell. That's all I can say. Nami asked, what other resources or tools do you recommend to help creators during this transition? And then they wrote, the Ask Me Anything is already a great resource. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
Wait, read the question.
So what other resources or tools do you recommend to help creators during the transition?
Okay. Let's see. Definitely find a good editing tool that works for you. I think there's a lot on that. We already talked about this a little bit. There's a lot that you can use, and find one that you feel comfortable with. Save all. We talked about repurposing your videos, so save all of the content that you've already created.
Yeah, repurposing content. I
don't know. I feel like it's going to be definitely not necessarily a tool, but like Sarah said earlier, if you're going to be moving to a platform that maybe you aren't as familiar with or you don't spend as much time on, spend some time on it before you start actually like posting and building out a strategy there. Spend some time consuming content, spend some time to seeing what other creators are posting, how they're engaging with their audiences, and build your future plans around what you're seeing, because there is a little bit of a difference between all the platforms. So
Right. Yeah. Do you think a TikTok ban could spark the creation of more independent platforms for creators? Yeah, it
I
already
think,
has
yeah,
been.
it has been.
Yeah, I mean, I think Red Note was already established,
Yeah, just in
just in
China.
China.
Yes.
Neptune is new, so it's definitely coming. I wouldn't be surprised if we see even more.
Yeah.
I don't have insight on that, but I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see a lot more attempts at new platforms, and whether or not they stick is only time will tell. But yeah, for sure.
Yes. Okay. Troy asked, how should we think about using purchased likes or followers to get momentum?
Don't.
You're talking to two like social media people right now. I would say don't.
It
Personally.
may be enticing at first to start your platform with like maybe 10,000 followers and you get the nice little K, or even more than that, but you're only going to be setting yourself up for failure
Yeah.
because, especially the way that the platforms have been evolving, audience growth is great, followers are great, but it really comes down to how you communicate and engage and build community within your audience. So if you have 10,000 or plus followers that are dead and are bots, or are just ghost followers, it's going to be really obvious to anybody who follows you that you did that, which is not a good look. It's going to be really obvious to brands if you're wanting to land brand
Yes.
partnerships, and if you're wanting to work, in whatever niche that you're putting yourself into, it's going to be very obvious there. There's a lot of tools on the back end that brands use to see kind of the health of creators accounts, and
Mhm.
so don't recommend at all.
Yeah, kind of just to latch onto what you were saying, like not only do these social media platforms in itself focus on the engagement, like when you get more engagement,
Yeah.
you get more reach usually,
Yeah.
and they all kind of build upon that. But also like brands, if you're someone who wants to get brand deals, I never suggest buying followers ever,
Mm-mm.
especially you, because like you said, brands can see it, and it just is never a good look. It's also just never a good look to have 10,000 followers and be getting
Two
5
likes. Yeah.
likes. Like, it just it's fake.
Also, I'm pretty sure it goes against all of the policies that these platforms have in place.
That
So
too.
it's a really easy way to get your account banned.
That too.
And then you're going to be kind of in a bad place. So don't do that.
That too. Hey, while we're here, just a reminder that you should follow us, not only
Yes.
on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. You can find us all the places.
Yeah.
Just a little sweet little plug at Manychat.
At Manychat.
So here's another question: if TikTok actually does shut down, how is it going to affect the way that brands approach influencer marketing? I really like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. So, influencer marketing has been growing pretty consistently over the last couple of years. A lot of brands are beginning to see and have been seeing the benefits of using influencers
Hmm.
for their marketing campaigns. So, I don't think it's gonna change. I think it's gonna continue to be a growing market and industry. I can speak just on personal experience that I have campaigns signed for TikTok through like April of this year.
Honestly, I do too.
if if the TikTok ban fully goes through and we're unable to access it after Monday, period, there's going to be a lot of changes, that these brands are going to need to be doing with contracted stuff and
Right.
shifting platforms for campaigns. But like, for example, I had just yesterday, a campaign that I'm supposed to go live with at the end of the month that was supposed to be on TikTok. The brand proactively reached out to me and said, "Hey, we don't know what's happening.
What's up?
Can we update your deliverables?
Yeah.
What can we update to make this, mutually beneficial, because it was supposed to go live on a platform that may or may not be around."
Right.
So if you're finding yourself in that position, or you're like us and you have campaigns planned, be proactive and reach out to your brand partners. I think um, it'll give you both an opportunity to continue the partnership and hopefully not lose out on any of your own income.
Yeah, definitely. I think just in general to talk about like the future of influencer marketing. I mean, first of all, this right now is only in the US, so
Yes.
you know, if you're outside of the US, obviously it's a different story. But I think that brands are probably going to focus a lot more on Instagram and maybe even YouTube too.
I think for sure.
Which obviously I love YouTube, so I hope so. But yeah, I think we're going to see a big shift in terms of like more partnerships on Instagram, more partnerships on YouTube, and a little bit maybe less on TikTok for now
Yeah, and I
until
think
we know what's happening.
that's totally fine. Like brands have been focusing a lot on TikTok because it was such a big platform, but
Right.
there were still a lot of brands who were focusing on multiple platforms or just Instagram because maybe they weren't as fond of TikTok.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it's going to change much at
Yeah. I think it's maybe just a little shift. That's all. Kate in the YouTube comments, by the way, thank you, YouTube chat. We love you. Do you think that trends are going to lose momentum without TikTok's algorithm driving rapid viral growth? If so, how do you recommend creators boost their visibility? Great question.
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think on Instagram, I know they've been putting a lot of focus on reach with trending sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways that you can see what sounds are trending on Instagram. So definitely utilize those. I think it'll be really interesting if TikTok is no longer that. I do think that trends in the way that we know them may not be as prevalent because of the way that the algorithms work, and we're not going to be able to see, we're not consuming the content in the same way. So I think we're going to be seeing trends maybe in other ways.
Yeah.
Trending sounds.
Yeah.
Just kind of longer playing trends rather than those like quick ones that we know.
Yeah. By the way, the audience is asking you to put your mic a little closer.
Hi, sorry guys.
Sorry. But yeah, to what you were saying, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see how all of this kind of plays out. We may see more trends starting on Instagram, which would be kind of cool too, because a lot of times, I mean, Instagram sometimes is a little delayed with the trends compared to TikTok, depending on where they start. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. We may see more unique trends starting from Instagram now.
Actually, kind of funny joke. I just saw TikTok that said Instagram real users are going to find out that TikTok was banned 6 months from now because of the way the trends have like slowly shift over to the platform. There's like a gap of period, but with places like Instagram being the like starter, I think it might change.
Yeah, absolutely. This question is funny. Does this mean Americans are going to have to find another way to waste hours watching 15-second dance videos? Yes.
I don't think we're going to struggle to find.
I think we can find a lot of them. I can waste time on Instagram Reels, on YouTube Shorts, on YouTube videos, on Threads.
I mean, come on. No.
Just everywhere. What are your Insta handles? You can go first.
Mine is at her boozy tails. Tails like dog tails. What about yours?
Love it. Mine is my name. So Sarah, SarahGavilla. Sarah Gav is what I call myself. So there you go.
Love it.
I posted a ton on TikTok, but never tried Instagram Reels. What do I need to know? Love it. Okay.
So, one of the big differences between Instagram Reels and TikTok is the time, the video length time. So on TikTok, you could have videos up to 3 minutes. Sometimes people had it up to 10 minutes. Reels is 90 seconds.
Yes.
So you have a minute and a half to hook your audience. Well, not to hook your audience. You've got way shorter than that to hook your audience.
3 seconds. Our attention spans are very short.
But if you have content, or if you're wanting to do more long form content, that's where YouTube would kind of come in. For Reels, shorter time, so 90 seconds.
Yep. I also feel like in general, and it depends on everyone's different. It depends on your audience. But I feel like in general, a lot of people were a little less polished on TikTok, where it's like a little less editing, a little less, I don't know, just a little bit more like storytelling aspect. And on Instagram,
like a FaceTime versus like a
on Instagram it's a little bit more like the editing is a little tighter. You're cutting out blank space a little bit more than what I typically saw on TikTok, at least. So I think that's just a little difference. I don't think it's needed. And again, I think we might start seeing a shift where more people are posting that type of content on Instagram because they were so used to posting it on TikTok.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I also do think that Instagram was and still is a more visual platform.
True.
So I think you're going to be able to, we'll see a shift for sure, but really focusing on the visuals of your video is going to be key as we slowly start transitioning to whatever algorithm's going to change.
Right. This is a good one from Reddit. How do you gauge the success of your platform? Is it more the followers and sponsors that you have? Does content really matter as long as the platform is gaining momentum? Honest question from a millennial over here yelling at the clouds. It's okay. We got you.
We all yell at the clouds, let's be real.
I think just personally, I tend to gauge success on I tend to gauge it a lot on the engagement that I get.
Yep.
That was kinda hard to say, engage. I was getting a little mixed up there. But yeah, I look at the engagement that I get. So, like, is this video getting comments, likes, shares? Is a big one too. Like, if
Yes.
people are sharing my content, I know that it's something that's really good, that people wanna share it with their friends or share it to
Yep.
their story, on Instagram. So, that's how I typically gauge it. Obviously, followers too. Like, if you're losing followers, you know there's a little bit of an issue there, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I do think for me it's also engagement. On your like point about losing followers, I do also want to say it's healthy to lose followers because it means you're like slowly narrowing in as long as you're not like, hemorrhaging followers. It's healthy to kind of get rid of the not get rid, but to cleanse your account and find people who are actually engaging with your content and enjoying the content as you're posting it now. Perhaps if you're losing followers, it's because the content doesn't your content doesn't suit them anymore, and that's totally okay.
I always say let them go
Yeah.
because if someone leaves, it's literally just that they weren't meant to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I always
Are we
say.
all good?
The mics aren't working?
Hey, friend.
This is Logan. Oh no.
Sometimes
Come on, Mel.
Sometimes the millennial in me really comes out.
Come on, Mel.
I'm like, nobody told me anything.
Sorry.
I'm a cusper, guys. It's fine.
Sorry. It's okay. Listen, we don't usually use mics on Instagram, so it's okay.
Exactly. This is why I need. See, it's going to be a learning curve for me if I ever start getting on YouTube because I'm much more familiar with the short form content style.
Got to get a whole bunch of new equipment. Start with shorts. It'll be fine. Okay, I love this one from Reddit. When you film stuff in public, how aware are you that people are looking at you, wondering who you're talking to and why you're doing this? How do you feel about people judging you, and how do you deal with those feelings? And then they wrote, I just ask because I wouldn't mind filming workouts. Well, I guess they're a workout creator.
Ooh.
Love that. But I don't want to be like every other nobody. I feel like you need a certain personality, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say about that, and maybe you have a different perspective, but I feel like the more that you do something like that, the better that you get at it. Like,
Yes.
I remember when I first filmed in public, I probably didn't even finish it, to be honest. I probably didn't even do it. Like, I think I started, and then, like, I gave up after 3 seconds. I was like, this is so embarrassing. I can't do this anymore. But the more that you, like, get used to it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I like to tell myself, because I still sometimes get nervous to film in public, just because people are looking at you doesn't mean that they're judging you. They might just be interested in what you're doing or think whatever you're doing is cool. But I think in our minds, it's really easy to be like, oh my God, everybody's staring. I need to do this. I need to stop. And to that, I say, just keep going. Who cares?
Yeah. Like, for example, when I see like a photo shoot happening in the middle of the street, I'm like, you go, girl. Like,
yes.
Yes. So like, I don't know why we have a different opinion on content creators. I mean,
or on ourselves. I think like if I
Yeah.
see a content creator filming out in public, I'm like, hell yeah, girl. Like,
yeah.
get it. I can't wait to see whatever hopefully I can see whatever you're making. But with me, I'm like, oh, I gotta be quick. Like I nobody can see me. And I think that's just silly. That's like a limiting belief that I need to personally get rid of. But I still film in public.
Yeah. Also, possibly, like, if you're able to do this, maybe grab a friend at first to do it with. Like, I remember when I first started, I would grab a friend and we'd film content with each other. Like, find a content creator friend who wants to do that, because it makes it a little easier when you start slow.
Or I bring my husband and I'm like,
okay,
you stand there and make it look like we're having a conversation when it's just me filming.
Meanwhile, I'm just doing this brand partnership in the street. Okay. Kate on YouTube.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate. I have a lot of old followers on Instagram who don't engage much with my content. What do you recommend for reigniting some of that engagement and expanding my reach to grow new followers?
That's a really good question. I think that oftentimes if you're seeing followers that aren't engaging, it might be that they're just not seeing your content for XYZ reasons, the way that their algorithm has shifted. It also just might be that they're not on Instagram anymore and maybe the account is dead. Yeah. There is actually, I don't know if this is available to all accounts, but I know at least for creator accounts on Instagram, if you click on your followers, at the top it'll be like Something about maybe like questionable followers.
It's like accounts you don't interact with, and there's also like I forget what they call it.
They essentially let you clear out accounts that Instagram has deemed are potentially dead or bot or just ghost accounts. And then that way, I know it's like scary to be like, well, now I'm going to be, 2,000 followers short. But you're much better off having 2,000 less followers and having more of your audience engaging than having the 2,000 that are sitting there dead and having your engagement rate be lower because of it.
It's kind of like what we were talking about buying followers, where it's more important to have a better engagement rate and having high engagement rather than high followers.
Yeah.
The second part of that question was like, what do you do to gain new followers? And my answer is just posting, and not being afraid to post. It can take a really long time to like have more and more reach and have more and more success on social media. But the longer that you do it, the better that you'll get at it, and the more that you'll start to understand your audience. A lot of times people are creating content that maybe is more for them than for your audience. And, sometimes you kind of need to like take a step back and say, okay, what does my audience tend to interact with? Let me lean into that more.
And also like pay attention to what Instagram is recommending, because they update their algorithms and they update their like best practices pretty regularly of what is going to like doing things that are going to help you get more reach. I know for us on Manychat, that's the kind of tip. Those are the kind of tips that we try to give you on our social platforms. But like Instagram recently came out and said like reels over 30 seconds tend to have more reach. So maybe like start experimenting with the length, or like utilizing trending sounds. Like just pay attention to what is working on the platforms, because not only is your content going to get shown to new audiences, but it's potentially going to get shown, if it gets more reach and engagement, to the people who are actually following you.
Next question is Canada affected by any of this? As of right now, I do not believe Canada is affected by the TikTok ban at all. So if you're in Canada,
lucky you.
There you go.
No, I think it's just the TikTok ban that is going into effect on Sunday is just for the US.
Yes. How do you feel about email lists? Are those still a thing? So I personally have an email list. I don't use it as much as social media just because it's not really my thing. I've never been a writer.
I think the nice thing, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I think the nice thing about something like an email list or your own personal blog is that you own that, right? You're not reliant on the platforms like we're seeing right now with TikTok. If you don't have an audience elsewhere that you kind of own and have, you're going to be a little bit more at risk if things like this happen.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about having an email list, like you were saying, like you own that, so you own all the emails. You don't have
you don't own them, but yeah.
But right, okay, sorry.
But no, before somebody's like,
you own my email.
No,
like it's unique to you, and it's not going to go down like whatever. But I think the other cool thing is that you can give a lot of free value in something like that, and you can also lead to like a freebie. So like one of the things that I personally do is that I collect emails every time someone gets like a free guide from me. So like I'll use Manychat on one of my posts and say, oh, you can comment freebie or whatever, and you can get it. And that's like a really helpful way to kind of grow the email list. Yeah. And I don't know, that's typically what I do.
And also I think it's another way for you to actually build connections and relationships with your audience. If you're able to send things like a freebie, or if like maybe you have a little bit of extra content or insight that you can share with the people who care enough about you to sign up for, to give you your email, or to sign up to an email list, it helps you build more of those like deeper relationships that are going to benefit you kind of all over.
So Michael on YouTube, shout out YouTube comments. What would be a recommended tool to analyze an influencer's followers, or even do a self-audit? Do you know what the tools are called?
There are a few. Of course, am I going to be able to remember off the top of my head? Probably not.
I don't think I can remember, but I've seen them.
I know a lot of influencer agencies use them to vet influencers when they're looking for collaborations.
Maybe a Google search might help with that more than us right now, because I've seen them. There's no real reason for me to go on them, to be honest.
I'm trying to think of the one that my agency uses, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we tried. But they are out there.
Yeah. They're super easy. You don't have to like input your like login information. Usually they can do it with just your username. So do a quick search on Google and you'll be able to kind of find one that works.
Yeah, and as far as a self-audit goes, I think looking at your, like, insights on these platforms,
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you can easily do that. And then also, like Mel was saying, the feature on Instagram, I don't think they have this on other platforms, but the feature on Instagram where you can filter out by, like, essentially fake followers or
Yeah.
followers that don't engage with your account, you can also look there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask this. Do you think it's better to start over if you have an old account on Instagram or YouTube? Ooh,
That's a good question.
I have a really hard time answering this because I think there's pros and cons to both.
I agree.
I think obviously the obvious con is that starting over, you start from zero. So that can be really hard to eventually grow up to, however many followers you aim to get. But the pro of starting over is that you are starting from scratch. So like if this account has been dead for 5 years, you don't have all that dead weight kind of there. That's not really helping your engagement rate at all.
Yeah.
Because odds are when you're posting for the first time after like multiple years, people usually don't engage.
And people also they might have been like you and kind of fell off of the platform. So you might be sitting on a lot of dead followers. So I think it just depends. You'll have to take a look at your own account and see and make a decision based on that. I didn't touch it, I swear. It's green.
We're getting in trouble again.
It's green. I'll hold it closer.
It's very scary when you come over here. Shout out Logan. All right. Ooh, okay. I didn't read this question yet, but this already looks good. If MySpace made a comeback, would you drop everything and join?
Can I admit something? I think I just missed out on MySpace by like a year or two.
So did I.
But you know what? People loved it. So hell yeah. Why not? At this point, I am like, if we lose TikTok, I'm going to be shopping for a new platform. Not that, I love Instagram, I love YouTube, but I think for me, there are so many opportunities as things pop up that why not?
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing more apps pop up. I think it's fun to try them. Again, like I think in general, sticking most of your time into the more established apps is always a good idea. But yeah, sure. I mean, MySpace was pretty established.
Yeah.
I would try it.
Heck yeah.
That's a pretty funny question. Okay. What would be the most ridiculous platform to pivot to? Pinterest, LinkedIn, Clubhouse again?
Clubhouse.
That's so funny. I was on Clubhouse. I was totally on Clubhouse.
I was too.
I actually liked that app. Okay, cool. So, the most ridiculous, I think it depends on who you are, right? Because like if you're a, I don't know, fashion creator or whatever, like it might make total sense to go on Pinterest. But it might not make sense to go on LinkedIn. I don't know how much your outfit ideas would do on LinkedIn.
You never know.
So it really depends on who you are.
Yeah, I think it depends on the content that you're going to be focused on creating, and also what your bandwidth is, because a lot of these platforms are different. And yeah,
I probably wouldn't go to Clubhouse again. I don't think people are on there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Haven't checked that app in a while.
That was a weird time.
Yeah. Anyways,
on.
Next question. Sarah asks, hey, that's my name. How do we handle brands freaking out about their #ad campaigns disappearing overnight?
That's a really good question.
That's a good question.
Also, hi, Sarah. So I think, again, be proactive with any partnerships that you have. If you know, for example, that you've posted a partnership on TikTok and it's supposed to live on your feed for 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, and you're still within that time frame come Sunday when TikTok is potentially being banned, be proactive with the brands. I think a lot of this is also relationship building. So if you are proactively reaching out to these and being like, hey, I love working together. I love the campaign that we did. I'm very proud of the content. I want to see what the best way to move forward is. You'll have a lot more success than if the brand has to come to you and be like, hey, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah, I think if you have active like brand partnerships, like personally what I'm doing is I'm suggesting to some of them that I haven't created yet, like, hey, instead of doing TikTok, do you want to like try YouTube? And do you want to see how that works? I think a lot of brands like they do the whole, post it on Instagram and TikTok,
Yeah.
But maybe they don't think about YouTube. So, hey, instead of TikTok, do you want to post it on YouTube Shorts and see how that performs,
Yeah. And there's also a lot of different things that you can offer brands. Like, for example, I have a campaign that's supposed to go live in a couple of days, and it was supposed to live on Instagram and TikTok. And they came out and they said, hey, can we just add, instead of TikTok, can we just add more paid usage for, you know, an additional 30 days or 60 days? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. I think it's just going to be being flexible kind of across the board.
Yeah, just in general, always building relationships with brands is a good idea. So just treat them like you would
Like-
any relationship.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Communication is key. Are hooks as important on Instagram as they are on TikTok? Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have very short attention spans, so you want to
Yes.
hook them in 3 seconds.
I think it goes really for all platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, a hook on YouTube might look a little bit different. It might be the thumbnail that hooks you.
Yep.
But definitely, again, that's why we've said, like, engage and interact with the platforms, but they're very important.
Yeah, be a consumer of the platform. But yes, Instagram hooks are important, TikTok hooks, YouTube, like you said, long form YouTube hooks. A lot of time, obviously, it's the thumbnail, but also like the first 3 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Just looks different on every platform. But overall, answer to your question is yes. How are you making up for lost money as you build somewhere else?
Crying. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Nice. A little bit of that.
I think this is where I'm really happy that I didn't just put all of my eggs in the TikTok basket as a creator. I've been working really hard. I started on Instagram, and so I've been working really hard to continue building multiple platforms at once. And obviously, TikTok for me was my biggest platform, is my biggest platform. But I know that I've built a really good audience on Instagram, and I know you're the same with YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in the sense that I get to continue having an income source from partnerships and stuff on other platforms. I think if I wasn't, I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties into the last question where it's like when you have partnerships on TikTok, like maybe try to work it out with some of the partners. Like, you know, I don't know what that looks like. Everyone's going to be different, obviously, but I don't know.
It's going to be, it's going to be really dependent on the creator themselves. You can always offer up the content as UGC for brands. I know a lot of brands were sourcing UGC through TikTok. So I think there's going to be a really good opportunity and need for that moving forward. So just, again, be flexible. It's going to be really tough for a lot of people. So we hear you.
Yeah. This also kind of ties into that too. So that's why I'm rushing into this one. Like, has the threat of a TikTok ban made you rethink how you diversify your revenue streams? I think this is a really good question because there's so many different ways that you can earn money on social media that aren't just from brand partnerships or from the platforms themselves. I know that a lot of people will get paid directly from, the TikTok views or whatever. Like, you can start your own products, like a digital product or a course of some sort or something like that. And I think this is a really good time to start thinking about that, similar to what we're talking about with the email list.
Yes.
Like finding ways that you own this thing, maybe that's not so reliant on the social media platforms. I mean, you never know when a platform will get banned or a platform will get hacked. Like you can get hacked tomorrow or something. So I think just in general.
Make sure you have 2-factor authentication turned on all your platforms.
That one.
But I think it's also like, I have a full-time job. Like we're content creators. We earn money on the platforms and we do brand partnerships, but we also both work full-time jobs. I know for me, a lot of that is financial security. So I think finding ways that you feel comfortable kind of moving forward and having that security yourself.
Yeah. And like Mel said, I love the concept of UGC too. Like I always did UGC for brands. I loved doing that. And that's another great way that like it's not so reliant on your platforms, but rather on your ability as a content creator.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's another good avenue for you to go if you're a content creator. Here's a big one. It says, oh no, I'm scared. How can creators effectively split their time between multiple platforms? Like, how should I start thinking about dividing my time? Wow.
That's a really good question.
That is a great question. Okay. Well, I would start by saying that wherever you maybe already have the biggest audience or the best engagement rate or whatever, maybe focus most of your time on there. I know that that's likely what I will personally do. Or if you're a creator who monetizes, maybe like which platform is the most beneficial to you. Like maybe that's YouTube, maybe it's Instagram. That's kind of where I would probably start just to be smart about it.
Yeah. And also spend time thinking about how you can, we've said this a million times, but how you can repurpose your content. I know for me, like I'm going to be focusing a lot on Instagram. So that's going to be my primary time grab, but also, okay, I'm creating content for Instagram. Where can I publish it elsewhere? Can I go to YouTube Shorts? Can I go to Pinterest? Can I go to Neptune when it comes out? So spend a lot of time thinking about that. I have a question for you though, because
Yeah.
you do YouTube and Instagram, and obviously the formatting is different.
Yes.
How do you split time between those?
Yeah, well, YouTube, like long form stuff, takes a lot longer than an Instagram reel,
Yeah.
right? So the cool thing about YouTube Shorts is that you can easily repurpose Instagram reels onto YouTube Shorts. So that's really easy for me. In terms of the long form, I think it's just coming up with like a pattern each week of like, okay, every Friday I'm going to do this or whatever, and devoting that time to filming long form. So in terms of like someone who's maybe brand new, maybe you spent all your time on TikTok and now you're trying to diversify, I would just focus again, like where do you need to spend time? Like if you know that a YouTube video is going to take you an hour to film and an hour to edit or whatever, just like dividing that time throughout your week. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, no, that makes
I
perfect
hope it
sense.
did.
If not, tell us. And
Yeah, tell us in the chat. We'll answer it, I promise. How can I keep my brand relationships warm while I grow elsewhere? It's a good question.
that's a really good question.
Again, I think this kind of just goes back to what we were saying, like keeping the relationship going, email them, talk about potential partnerships that you can do on Instagram or YouTube
or UGC.
UGC, like we said.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it for sure.
I think if you already have these relationships being built with brands, they already see the potential in you. They've already noticed the kind of content that you're creating. They like the quality of the content. And they're going to want to continue working with you. It might be in a different capacity. But just being open and flexible and having communication with them is key.
Yes. All right. We only have a few more minutes left, which is crazy.
That went by so fast.
I know. So first of all, thank you for all your questions.
Yes.
We really appreciate everyone watching on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure you follow us at Manychat.
Please.
Hi. You can get some great content from me and Mel. So let's take 3 more questions. That sound good?
That sounds good.
Cool. Awesome. All right. What are your thoughts on Substack or Beehive? Do you know anything about that?
I've seen a lot of my creator friends are on Substack. I actually haven't played around with it, so I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe I should.
Okay, let's dive into this on our own time.
That's our new project of the week.
And then maybe you'll see something about it on the Manychat Instagram and YouTube soon. Who knows?
You never know.
You have to follow to find out.
We listen to our audience. All right. What changes should creators make to their captions and text strategy for Instagram's format? That's an interesting question.
That's a really good question.
I like that. I mean, again, kind of like what I was saying before, I always feel like Instagram's a little bit more like polished with the editing. So I personally use CapCut to add captions. I just think that it looks a little bit more like professional and a little bit more, I don't know, there's a lot you can do there.
I think one of the big things is paying attention to the like native things in Reels that might be potentially blocking your captions. So like there's like the dead space that you're not supposed to use, like at the bottom of the video or on the side of the video where they have the like and share buttons. So look at the sizing for that, and make sure you're placing your text in clean areas. But other than that, I kind of use the same strategy on Instagram for my text that I do on TikTok, where I have a big hook at the beginning, and then I personally really like using like auto captions so that if people are listening without sound, that they still know what's going on in the video.
Yeah,
and that's
I
been
always
working.
suggest that.
That's been working really well for me.
Yeah, I love what you said about putting text. I usually put like a big thing of text on the top.
Yeah.
Because again, like a hook doesn't just have to be a verbal hook. It can also be a visual hook.
Yes.
So like seeing like a big thing in like a bright color or whatever.
Something that's going to make you
like
stop your scroll and be like, hey, I want to see that.
Yeah. So the last question is actually from our boss.
Uh-oh.
Hello. Are we in trouble? No.
Let me turn this off.
I'm a creator. Should I use Manychat DM automation to convert more and get more engagement on Instagram? And can I start for free today?
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. Even before I started working at Manychat, I've always used Manychat because it's been a great tool for creators. So I've used it for 2 years.
I love using Manychat as like a creator who often posts like links or like tools or
affiliate
affiliate
links.
products.
Yeah.
I love using it because it makes it so easy to send that stuff to my audience without having to like make them like go to the link in my bio and like go through all these extra steps. So I highly recommend it. That's how I use it.
And you can start for free today.
Yes.
And we have the link in the YouTube description.
We have it everywhere.
Everywhere on Instagram and TikTok.
It won't be hard to find. And if you have questions also about using Manychat, we've got a lot of pieces of content about everything that you could think of on all of our platforms. But we're always open to new questions and to creating content that is beneficial for you guys. So if you have anything you want to see from us, let us know.
And if you're watching the replays and you have any other questions, feel free to put it down below in the comments because that helps us to create the type of content that you guys want to see. So we always encourage audience feedback.
Yes, please.
All
awesome.
right.
Is that it?
I think that's it. That's kind of sad. This was so good. Look at our team. Thank you to our team who helped us moderate these live streams. We really appreciate that. They're so awesome.
And thank you guys for being here.
Yes.
We'll see you at the next one.
I know. I can't wait to do this again.
I know.
We're going to have to. This is really fun.
Goodbye.
All right. Thank you and good night.